It has been off.
Huh?
It was off.
It just turned off, right? Okay. Excuse me. Okay. Okay, that's just kind of telling you how to change the different speakers or whatever. Speaker corrections.
It's very easy to change paragraph labels that contain a misspelled speaker's name. Just press contain a misspelled speaker's name. Just press F2 to open the speaker table. Then select the name you want to change. By the way, you can also open the change dialog by double-clicking on a speaker's name. Type the new name and press OK. Usually you'll make the change throughout all the documents. But let's say that you've used the same steno to identify an attorney throughout the day, but at lunch he or she is replaced by a colleague. You could use the forward button to change the speaker's name only from lunch forward. The change is instant and even affects byline paragraphs that reference the speaker's name. Let's take a closer look at the dialogue.
Did you understand what they're explaining there? So if you use attorney 1 and it was the DA and say we've gone 4 hours on this thing. Well, you know what? They just called. Her child was sick. She had to leave. So Mr. McClinchy comes in. Well, you know what? I forgot to use something different and I still used attorney 1. Well, it's going to come up, Mrs. Dye. And, it wasn't Mrs. Dye, it was Mr. McClinchy took over after the afternoon. That's how you change that. And you can go forward and it'll only go forward. That makes sense? It's not going to go back. But, you have to be real careful because...
byline paragraphs that reference the speaker's name. Let's take a closer look at the dialogue used to the forward button.
Because if you push all, then it's going to go back and forward. Okay? So you have to be real careful what you want there. But, say you misspelled, that person's word. It's like, name. It's like, oh my God, I have to go through 265 pages, because I misspelled that person's name. No, this is how you do it. Go in there, speaker list, push change, all, changes it throughout the whole thing. Okay?
Change the speaker's name only from lunch forward. The change is instant and even affects byline paragraphs that reference the speaker's name. Let's take a closer look at the dialogue used to change a speaker name. It does much more. For instance, you could set up shortcuts way beyond 9. You could also select special colors to identify speakers and set up speaker groups. There are also buttons on the speaker list dialog that make it easy to reorganize the order in which the names appear. Additional functions of the speaker list are described in the presentation on pre-translation speaker setup.
Did y'all get that? Pretty neat. Okay, yes. I think we're done. That kind of explains really important stuff that we went over tonight, guys. The speaker stuff and all of that. So, go over that stuff, mess with it a little bit. Go into an old job that you have and just mess with that stuff and just to see, how it works, what it does. This way, if it messes it up or you don't know how to get out of it or correct it, then, but messing with it more is going to help you understand exactly what it's doing. Okay?
Is the speaker list always saved as a job dictionary and not a command dictionary when you click F2?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's always a job dictionary. unless you define it in your main. Now, if you define it, it'll put it in your speaker list, but it's also going to put it in your main. That's why I said you have to be really careful, you know, when you define those things, because it's only going to do what you tell it to do.